This is a tutorial on how to write objectives and test questions for the Marian Aging College of Medicine course. So the objectives just technically need to be less than 250 characters for us to store them. But in a more important sense, they should be fairly fine-tuned in that it should be kind of a nugget of information that they have to learn, where there is an ending point, meaning the student knows when they've studied enough to be done studying that objective. So if you were giving a lecture on the pelvis, you wouldn't have an objective describe problems with the pelvis. You would say list 3 remedies or treatments for a hip fracture. A good rule of thumb is to try to put in Bloom's words from Bloom's taxonomy. I'll put a link to where you can find those here, and then that will help you when you submit the question. You'll have to tag it with what type of Bloom's level of knowledge that is. It'll be Bloom's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, 6. 1, 2 being the lowest level of information, kind of rote memorization, something they can just memorize. 3 and 4 being applied, so maybe a clinical question, and 5 and 6 being the highest level of knowledge, where they're having to weave in multiple things that they've learned. So synthesis. So every question you have will have to be tied to an objective, and it can be tied to more than one objective if the question needs information from multiple objectives you've taught on. When you're writing the exam question, not only will you have to tag it with those objectives, we kind of have rules of thumb for how our test questions need to be written. We usually try to aim to have 5 answers. That helps a lot to discriminate how well the question is compared to others on a metrics term when we get feedback from the students on how they did. It could be 4 answers if there's obviously pairs or something where it's only 4 and the 5th would be a throwaway answer anyway. And it could be up to 8 questions. I'm allowing that. In rare cases, that would be if there's combinations of things. To cover every combination, you have to go up to 8. So for example, A and B, A and C, A and D, B and C, B and D, something like that. But normally aim for 5, and 4 to 6 is okay, in an acceptable range. We also don't have questions that are asking kind of negative information. Which of these does not apply, or you can't have a question that has multiple correct answers, so choose all that apply below. And you can tag it if you have a question that has, as you read it, it has multiple Bloom's words that are in different categories. It's probably the higher level Bloom question. So if you have a Bloom 1 word in the question and a Bloom 5 or 6 category, it should probably be a higher level question. And you don't really have to go strictly by what the word is. You can think of the sentence of what type of knowledge is this asking. Is it synthesis or just rote memorization?